Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and on today's program we will get an update on the North Quincy cable replacement project by National Grid. First though, as usual, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, overcast. It's a muggy 70 degrees right now. We're under a flood watch, expecting some more thunderstorms to blow in this afternoon with highs in the muggy mid-70s. It'll be unsettled through this evening with showers and storms. Another uncomfortable night with some patchy fog. Lows tonight in the upper 60s. And kind of unsettled really for most of the rest of this week. Showers around tomorrow, mid-70s. Lots of storms here on Wednesday. Still very humid with highs Wednesday in the upper 70s. Starting to see some improvement by Thursday afternoon with some clearing, lower humidity, and highs Thursday in the mid-70s. Right now, Friday looks very nice, but in the meantime, we've got some unsettled weather to get through. Again, overcast and 70 in Quincy right now. Checking out news for you today, the Quincy City Council is back in session tonight for their first in-person meeting after their summer recess. The council met virtually last week in a special session to vote on those land takings for the C Street Improvement Project. But tonight, they're back in person in the Great Hall at Quincy City Hall. City Council President Noel DeBona says it will be a quick meeting.
The agenda for next week is pretty light. I'll be honest with you. There are some public hearings and stuff, but it looks like to be a very light agenda coming in. We just had our Wednesday before the meeting of the agenda items, and right now, as we speak, it's not much on there. Sorry, Joe. I know it's not a lot of stuff on there, but we anticipate more on the agenda items for could possibly be September 18th. We also meet in October 2nd and October 16th. So if any agenda items don't come in, topics of council orders or resolutions are saying so, we have a couple more meetings.
Last week, councilors unanimously approved 19 land takings required for that C Street Improvement Project and also approved reimbursing the impacted property owners a total of $1.13 million. Approximately 30 members of a neo-Nazi group called NSC 131 protested outside the Welcome Center for Migrants at Eastern Nazarene College in Quincy on Saturday. Police say the group gathered on the sidewalk at about 8 o'clock Saturday night and protested for about 15 minutes. The members were reportedly dressed all in black, wore black ski masks, carried flares. Police say the members were yelling racially themed messages and carrying a banner. The group marched toward Wollaston Beach after their protest, and there were no arrests reported. Then yesterday, a group gathered carrying signs with hearts and welcoming messages. State Representative Jackie Chan of Quincy says the federal government needs to help with the migrant crisis that's facing the state.
Right. I mean, I had talked with the Secretary of Housing office last week, and the question was very simple in the end. I mean, where are they coming from? And a lot of us initial thoughts was this was a federal program. But those are generally coordinated through local refugee organizations. The feds have designated certain organizations for refugee placement. Ukrainians and Afghans and Haitians have utilized the local organizations. This is different because we don't know when they're arriving, how they're arriving, and where they're arriving. So it's not really coordinated in the sense that, the feds have decided to start shuffling people around, for a lack of a better term, and proceed to, contact various states and their own refugee assistance networks to let people know they're coming, and then the federal funding will follow. This is not that circumstance, is what I'm getting the impression from the Secretary of Housing's office. This is a they just show up somehow situation, and we don't know when, where, and how. And this is the frustrating part of the whole thing. It's from my standpoint, I'm not averse in helping folks. The problem is that I just do not know what resources we need because every person's different. We don't have a coordinated effort. And thankfully, we live in a city that's a high service city, right? We have QCAP, Basic Community Services. We have Manatee Community Health Center. We can go on and on and on. And as we proven during COVID, we've learned how to ramp up big time when we need to ramp up. But we actually knew what we're trying to ramp up to. That's not the case here. It's the lack of predictability of it all is the troubling part.
The Welcome Center at ENC is housing 58 families from Haiti right now. It is being run by Bay State Community Services of Quincy and a shelter management firm. A community meeting about the Quincy Welcome Center will be held tomorrow at 6:30 in the auditorium at the Central Middle School. The MBTA is working to correct two major issues that have contributed to speed restrictions along several subway lines. Two reports issued last week indicate that track inspections are not being performed properly and that documentation of track inspections is lacking. The T hired an outside consulting firm and conducted an internal investigation, with both reviews revealing similar problems. During a press conference about those reviews, MBTA General Manager Philip Eng said efforts are already underway to correct the track inspection process.
And the issues identified in these reports did not develop overnight and are indicative of systematic problems. When I took this role in the Healy Driscoll administration, the expectations were clear: restore service and reliability and safety within the system. And since I joined the T, we have focused on rebuilding the infrastructure and the culture of the organization. We're not only addressing the findings of the various reports, but we're building an organization that I believe will be sustainable and long-lasting. Building an organization that is looking both near-term and long-term. And this is about ensuring that the workforce, even at the entry level, all the way to the top, have the proper training, qualifications, and clear direction for management. As I mentioned earlier, clear lines of authority, responsibility, and accountability moving forward are critical and vital. I've continued to challenge the leadership team to take a hard look in the mirror. As an agency, we need to evolve. The status quo is unacceptable. And this is about strengthening our organization and empowering and building up the workforce that enable us to do just that.
Those reports also indicate in areas including staffing, training, quality control and oversight, and accountability. Eng said his approach to fixing the T is to do it right the first time rather than addressing issues as they arise. Well, a community meeting about plans for a new Squantum Elementary School will be held at the current Squantum Elementary School this coming Thursday. Mayor Thomas Koch says the design team will make a presentation about the plans for the new school during that meeting this Thursday evening at 6:30 in the Squantum School gym. The initial plan calls for the new school to be built right behind the current school, then have the current school demolished. The new school could be a two-story building with space for students to be dropped off within the school grounds rather than at the side of the road. The mayor says the project may be eligible for up to 60% reimbursement from the state. It's our check of news for you. Coming up, we sit down with Danielle Loretz of National Grid and get an update on the North Quincy cable replacement project. That's next. Welcome back. It's been a little over 2 years now since the North Quincy cable replacement project got underway, and time for another update from Danielle Loretz is here from National Grid to tell us all about it and where it's going from here. Hey, Danielle, good to see you again.
Hi.
Thanks for coming over. Yeah, I know. It's been a couple times now since we've had some periodic updates on this, but always a good time to get a refresher for folks. New people coming to the city all the time might not know what the heck is going on along Newport Avenue between North Quincy and Field Street right down the street here.
There is quite a bit.
Quite a bit,
Quite
yeah.
a bit. So we did start our construction back in the summer of 2021 for this project. And we are hopefully wrapping up within 2024. So that's it's been an adventure. I would like to very personally thank the project team because they have been on target with all of their milestones. The residents have been amazingly patient with us, and we've received some great feedback on how we're communicating. And then also just the city as a whole, all of the departments that we've had to collaborate with as well have been just top notch.
That's nice to hear.
So
very nice to hear.
Very happy.
Maybe if you could just, for folks who don't know, give a little bit of an overview of what the actual project consists of.
Sure. So in Quincy, we have a transmission cable that is roughly a little bit over 50 years old. And that transmission cable is what brings power from where it's generated, which can be sometimes very far away, into the city of Quincy. And from there, we would step it down and distribute it locally to homes and businesses. So this transmission cable is your bulk of the supply. And so we want these to be robust. We want them to be modern cables, especially now with all of the influx and on renewable energy and all of that. So this cable that was serving Quincy was old, looking for retirement.
Yep.
So we did look at it and we decided that we needed to replace it, and we wanted to replace it in a modern duct bank and manhole system.
Okay.
This makes it much easier to inspect the transmission line, as well as to maintain it or do any repairs, because prior to, this was a direct buried cable, which meant every time we needed to locate a fault or we needed to repair the cable, you had to dig up the road, which is very inconvenient for people, very time consuming as well. So by installing a manhole and duct bank system, now when we do need to go in, we just pop a manhole cover. The workers can go into the manhole, which is like a big vault,
Yep.
and work and do all of the work from there. So it's, it would be blocked off,
Okay.
the manhole cover, but you're not digging up the whole road again.
Yeah, but before you go on, we have some photos of that process, actually, that we'd like to show folks. Yeah, and give them just a sense for what's been going on. So here's a duct bank, right?
Here's a duct bank.
Okay.
So if you also go to the project's website, you can see kind of how we fill it in. But in this duct bank, that's where we would actually lay the conduit. And conduit is what the cable then resides in.
And that's the next picture.
So let's see. So those pipes that you see in the ground, that's conduit.
Yep.
It's like it's just a pipe.
Yep, it's a
basically,
hollow plastic pipe, right?
Yes.
Or whatever it's made out of, yeah.
And
okay.
then it would get backfilled.
Yeah. And I tried to put these in order.
Yep. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. Not being a construction manager myself.
So there you go.
There's
These
your
are-
backfill.
There's your backfill,
Okay.
and those are all approved by DOT as well as the city standards
Yep.
and all of that we kind of work with again to get those approvals. And then let's see what the next picture is. So here's your manhole
Okay.
being installed. So again, these are installed. They're pre-made.
Yep.
So it's the bottom half,
Oh.
and then the top half goes there,
I see.
and then
Okay.
it again more backfill. So as you can see, we're installing one here. This one is complete. There's your manhole cover.
Okay.
So that's where our crews would access.
I see. Okay. So like you say, instead of having to dig up the whole road there, they just pop that cover and
They pop that cover, so they would do the same thing, kind of have some cones around their work area.
Okay.
But it's just popping
So
that cover open.
much less disruptive than, shutting down an entire street and digging it all up and searching for the problem, right?
Exactly.
And there's the finished
Exactly.
product.
Yep.
Now the route itself, Danielle, where do the cables start and where do they end?
So they start and end at the two substations in Quincy.
Okay.
So that's where they would terminate, and from those substations, that's where you would step it down, the voltage level, to go into the homes and businesses.
Okay.
Along the distribution
Okay.
system.
And what is the route of this project? Where is it going from to?
My goodness, Field Street substation.
Okay.
And then the other substation is down by. I'm
State
forgetting-
Street, probably?
Yes.
Up in North Quincy?
Yes.
Okay, so you're coming down Newport Avenue,
And then
crossing
from-
over at Furnace Brook Parkway.
Yep. Southern Artery.
Yep.
And then it does this kind of like Jimmy Jag.
Yes,
into
along
the
Mount
field.
Wollaston
Yeah,
Cemetery, yeah.
Right, and then right into the Field Street substation.
Okay.
So we've been working very closely with the residents along that, what I call the Jimmy Jag.
Yeah.
To make sure that they have access to their driveways, working with the businesses so they can get their deliveries. And then a lot of the work on, I believe it's Newport Avenue, has also been being done at night.
Okay.
Which is, again, to just help with traffic flow. There's a lot less congestion at night, and then also anything that was near the highways as well, close to 93 Southern Artery. That was, again, a lot of collaboration with the city departments, Quincy's traffic engineer, to really make sure that these traffic management plans were the best available options so that residents and anyone who utilizes those roads really kind of was as minimally affected as possible.
Yeah, there's going to be disruption. It's inevitable, right? How you can't do a project
Always.
like this and not have some disruption, but it's how you manage it. That's the key. And I've heard, very little in terms of complaints, if you will, or serious issues. They all seem to be addressed pretty quickly.
Yeah, we have a project hotline and a project email address
Yes.
that people have been utilizing, which is fabulous because, again, we have somebody that's dedicated to answering that and to finding out if we don't have an immediate question, we can work through our project team to get the correct subject matter expert to answer that. But for the most part, we've actually received a lot of compliments on again, the fact that there's a weekly newsletter that highlights the traffic management plan for the project for that upcoming week. It also gives a little bit of a progress update.
Yep.
So people have really have really appreciated having that kind of hand-holding but constant communication in those touch points. So they're aware of where we're going, what we're doing, and when we're doing it.
Yeah, communication is key. I've signed up for that, and as a matter of fact, there was an update issued just this morning, so right on time. It's free to subscribe to the update. There's no obligation at all.
Nope.
And it's pretty accurate. There's photos there, just like the ones that we show, to give folks kind of a progress report too. So, yeah, I would say overall, for a massive project like this that's done once every 50 years,
Yes.
it's gone
once
pretty
every
well.
50 years.
Yeah. So you're about 2/3 of the way done, actually.
Yes. So the big highlights that we've had are the fact that all of our manholes and handholds are installed. Our trenching, which is building the duct bank, that is about 97% complete,
Wow.
which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Right now, there are also crews working on what's called splicing, which is, when you have two ends of the cable and they're meeting, we have to, splice them together so
Okay.
that they connect. So that is an ongoing activity where we're complete with trenching and pulling cable as well. So we're moving along. We are definitely on target to reach, when our in-service date, and then the next phase of the project would start, which is removing the old cable.
Ah.
So you can't leave that.
Okay.
You can't leave that in the ground. So,
Okay.
that is ongoing. We won't be removing the old cable until the new cable is in service and functioning.
Obviously, because you still need electricity.
You still need the power,
Right,
no
right.
matter what. But that would be scheduled, and we would again be having to coordinate with the city very closely
Okay.
to remove that old cable. And as we're getting more information and closer towards that activity, we would again be sending updates and letting people know what that schedule would look like.
Okay. Do you know what that process actually entails? How do you have to dig up the streets again and remove the old cables?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
So there's
no magic to it,
There's
right?
no magic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's no way for us to kind of like blink it
Right.
and, it's
Make it
it's gone.
disappear, yeah.
So what we would have to do is, again, that's an old type of cable. So there's environmental permits that we would have to make sure that we're filing, and we have updated, and they remove the oil from the old cable,
Oh, there's oil.
kind of like a back truck. It's like a petroleum,
Okay.
like a petroleum oil, like a mineral oil.
Vaseline type.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they remove that, and then they would cut chunks of that cable and they pull it out.
I see.
There would be some excavation where it's needed, but again, it's a little bit further down the line. So the focus right now is to get this new cable installed, tested, and in service.
Okay.
And then we would also be working very closely again with the city for repaving.
And what's the timeline for the total completion right now?
Total completion, I believe, is 2025.
Okay. All right.
Or early 26.
Oh, really? Okay. So it'll be.
Again, it's going to depend on how how much we can work through possibly the winter.
Yes. Yeah.
And then again, getting that working with the city to also identify on the streets where we've been working and where we want to repave. Are there other city projects so that, again, you're not repaving
Sure.
and then
Digging up and
and then repaving. So it's a little bit of a symphony that we need to coordinate with the city on the repaving
Right.
part.
As I understand, there have been some gas lines replaced as part of this project as well, just because of that fact. Just do it all at once, right? Yeah.
We wanted to coordinate that, again, cost savings, number one.
Sure.
And then also, while the streets open up, why not? If there's something that needs to be replaced, let's do it now while the streets open so that, again, when we pave that, we're not going back and digging things up.
Right. There's gas, there's water mains, there's sewer lines, there's maybe cable television infrastructure. I mean, there's all kinds of...
It's amazing
yeah.
what's underground that nobody's aware of until
Right.
it breaks.
Yeah. So what is the kind of the overall goal, I guess, of the North Quincy Cable Replacement Project? What's the hope for it?
The overall goal is for us to continue to provide our customers, our communities, with a robust transmission system so that, again, we can implement more renewables. We can ensure that the lights stay on as well. So again, that would come along with, again, distribution updates. But if you have the power that's coming to the town, and that's a good, solid, robust transmission line, that's going to help when there are outages, because we're only worrying about kind of the distribution side. We're not worrying about the transmission
The generation side, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They were 50 years old. There were breakdowns.
Yeah, there
in
were.
years past, yeah.
There were some breakdowns. Also, when you have a cable that is direct buried, you run the chances of somebody digging into it as well with construction equipment, and I'm sure you're aware of all of these various construction projects going on in Quincy and building and all of that, you're running that risk of somebody hitting that line. And so with a manhole and duct bank system, you're not going to have that.
Okay.
That is a concern.
Is this new technology just for this
It's a
project?
modern cable.
Yeah.
I don't know the engineering
Yeah.
lingo for
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I have it's a modern cable
Okay.
system. And just being able to work from the manhole, it really, it's great for our crews, it's great for the city, again, because we're not having to disrupt a street. We're not having to, rip up sidewalks or impact sidewalks while we're going down there and doing a routine inspection.
Yeah, it's all kinds of disruptions you can't even imagine. Public transportation is another one, right?
Yes.
The bus routes.
The
That's
bus
a main bus route,
routes,
yeah.
so it's a great way to just be able to say, pop it open, jump inside, and get it done.
Sure, absolutely. I'm sure you've been asked about this. I have too. Is it going to cost ratepayers any more in Quincy, to pay for this project?
So this project had been included in the rate that's being paid now.
Okay. Okay, so it's funded.
Yes, it's part of our capital infrastructure plan that
Sure.
Was already funded.
Okay. How much of it is weather dependent, Danielle? We've had so much rain this past summer. Has that been an
So
issue?
they will work through rain.
Wow.
They can work through. They can also work through snow.
Okay.
So it's as pretty much as long as the city's allowing us to work, we're going to keep working. Again, sometimes there's moratoriums when on opening up the street.
Yep.
But as long as the city's allowing us to work, we're going to keep working. The rain might slow them down a bit. It gets muddy
Sure.
if you're trying to excavate. But the crews they've been at it. So I give them a lot of kudos because it's not fun working outside in the rain.
I wouldn't think, yeah, or the cold or the snow
Or
either.
the-
Yeah.
no.
Let's hope for a winter like we had last winter.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
can get a lot more done, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Folks do have questions, concerns. What are some good ways for them to reach out?
So again, our hotline, our email address, the website is a really great resource. You've got animations. And those animations also have closed captions in Spanish, in simplified Chinese as well. So, and our entire website is also, you can hit the translate button, and again, it will show you the languages that we've translated it into.
Excellent.
So really just utilize that hotline. Darren is the gentleman that picks up the phone.
Yep.
And he is quite knowledgeable and always willing and ready to help somebody who has a question.
Great. Appreciate the update. Great to see you.
My pleasure.
Please come back.
We will.
All right.
We will.
Just enough time to check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. Weather is going to be a factor, unfortunately. We've got a flood watch in effect with some pretty strong storms on the way later this afternoon and this evening, with temperatures in the muggy mid-70s. Kind of wet again tomorrow, gray, damp with some clouds and showers, mid-70s. Still unsettled here on Wednesday, but we finally see some clearing by Thursday afternoon. Until then, keep the rain gear at the ready. Thanks again going out to Danielle Loretz for joining us today from National Grids.
My pleasure.
Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching Friday here on the show. Sarah Callard from the Friends of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater will stop by and tell us how their season went this past summertime. Meantime, check our website, qatv.org. All of our latest programs are there, along with news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and a whole lot more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.